In early 2025, the Trump administration shocked both nations by slapping steep tariffs on Canadian imports, an unexpected move that sent shockwaves through political and economic circles on both sides of the border. The tariffs reached up to 25% on key goods, instantly raising the cost of a wide range of products flowing between the two countries. This was part of a sweeping America First trade agenda, but the measures against Canada were especially harsh, signaling a new era of protectionism. The move targeted industries like autos, steel, aluminum, and timber, sectors that form the backbone of North American manufacturing and are deeply integrated across the border. These sectors are not just important economically. They represent decades of cooperation and shared prosperity between the US and Canada. The sudden announcement left businesses scrambling, with little time to adapt to the new costs. Many companies were caught off guard, forced to make quick decisions about supply chains and pricing. The administration claimed the tariffs would protect American jobs and rebalance trade, but the fallout was immediate and widespread. US and Canadian supply chains, built over decades, faced major disruption. Production lines slowed or stopped, and uncertainty rippled through the market. Companies worried about rising prices, job losses, and the threat of Canadian retaliation. The fear of a tit-for-tat trade war loomed large. The policy marked a dramatic shift in the long-standing partnership between the two countries, putting decades of trust and collaboration at risk. For many American workers, the tariff sounded like a promise kept, proof that their concerns were finally being addressed by Washington. But business leaders sounded the alarm, warning that the long-term consequences could be severe for both countries' economies. The deep economic ties meant that any disruption would ripple through both economies, affecting everything from jobs to consumer prices. As the news spread, questions mounted. Would prices soar? Would jobs vanish? Would Canada hit back with tariffs of its own? The uncertainty was palpable. The stage was set for a tense and unpredictable trade conflict, with the future of North American commerce hanging in the balance. So, what exactly is a tariff? You might have heard the term in the news, especially during discussions about trade wars or international business, but what does it really mean for everyday people and companies? Simply put, it's a tax on imported goods, an extra fee companies pay to bring products into the US. This fee is collected by the government at the border, and it applies to a wide range of products, from raw materials to finished goods. For example, a 25% tariff on Canadian steel means American companies pay more for those materials. This can affect industries like construction, car manufacturing, and even appliances, since steel is used in so many products. The goal? Make foreign goods pricier, so US-made products look more attractive. By raising the cost of imports, tariffs are supposed to encourage people and businesses to buy American-made items instead. Tariffs can protect domestic industries and generate government revenue. But they also raise costs for businesses and consumers. Sometimes they're used as a tool in trade negotiations or to respond to unfair trade practices. When a company pays a tariff, it often passes that cost to customers, so cars, houses, and other goods get more expensive. This means that in the end, regular people often feel the impact in their wallets. While tariffs aim to help American workers, they can also spark higher prices and economic disruption. Some businesses may struggle to afford higher costs, and families might have to adjust their budgets. The debate: do tariffs really protect jobs, or do they just make life more expensive for everyone? Experts, politicians, and everyday people often disagree on whether tariffs are worth it. In practice, the impact of tariffs is felt throughout the economy. From big corporations to small businesses and families, everyone can be affected in different ways. American companies and families often bear the brunt of these policies, sometimes facing tough choices about spending, hiring, or even staying in business. That's why tariffs are always controversial. They touch nearly every part of the economy and spark passionate debate about what's best for the country. Why target Canada, a close ally? For decades, the US and Canada have shared one of the world's closest economic and diplomatic partnerships. So, when new tariffs were suddenly announced, many wondered, why now? And why Canada? The Trump administration linked the tariffs to national security and immigration concerns, claiming Canada wasn't doing enough to stop fentanyl or control illegal border crossings. These issues, they argued, posed a direct threat to American safety and stability. By imposing steep duties, the White House aimed to pressure Canada on these issues, hoping to force action where diplomatic talks had stalled. This was a sharp break from traditional diplomacy, using trade penalties to achieve non-trade goals. It signaled a willingness to use economic leverage in new and controversial ways. The administration also argued that U.S. trade deals were unfair, and that tariffs would force Canada to the negotiating table. They insisted that American workers and industries had been disadvantaged for too long. Critics pointed out that U.S.-Canada trade is already highly balanced, governed by agreements meant to eliminate tariffs. Many experts questioned whether the new taxes would actually solve the problems cited. The new measures seemed to contradict the spirit of the USMCA, which replaced NAFTA. That agreement was designed to modernize trade and strengthen ties, not create new barriers. Many saw the move as a push for protectionism, aiming to force manufacturing back to the U.S., no matter the diplomatic fallout. For workers and businesses on both sides, the uncertainty was real. The result, a high-stakes gamble that risked unraveling decades of economic integration and cooperation between the two countries. The stated reasons were hotly debated, but the impact was undeniable. The tariffs sent shockwaves through industries, communities, and political circles. The U.S.-Canada relationship was suddenly on shaky ground, with both sides searching for a path forward amid growing uncertainty. The tariffs hit American businesses and families fast. U.S. automakers, reliant on Canadian parts, saw costs spike overnight. Companies faced a tough choice: absorb the losses or raise prices for consumers. New cars and trucks became more expensive, squeezing family budgets. The pain spread beyond autos. Construction, food production, and other sectors all felt the pinch. Higher costs led to hiring freezes, layoffs, and delayed investments. Labor unions warned the tariffs could cost more jobs than they saved. Retaliation from Canada threatened U.S. exports, putting farmers and manufacturers at risk. The tit-for-tat escalation hurt American exporters and workers. The ripple effects were clear: higher prices, job losses, and economic uncertainty. The policy's reach extended far beyond its original targets. For many, the tariffs became a source of anxiety and frustration. The backlash was swift and bipartisan. Governors from both parties, especially in border and manufacturing states, condemned the tariffs. They warned of disrupted supply chains, lost jobs, and higher prices for their constituents. Press conferences, letters, and lobbying efforts ramped up, urging the White House to reconsider. Labor unions joined the fight, arguing the tariffs would hurt American factories and workers. Instead of saving jobs, they feared plant closures and layoffs. This rare alliance of governors, unions, and business groups formed a powerful opposition. Their message, a trade war with Canada, would be a self-inflicted wound. They demanded a clear process for exemptions, calling the one-size-fits-all approach unworkable. The revolt showed just how deeply the tariffs were affecting communities across America. Under pressure, the administration offered a lifeline. Companies could apply for tariff exemptions, but the process was chaotic, complex, slow, and confusing. Thousands of businesses flooded the Commerce Department with requests, creating a massive backlog. Small businesses struggled most, lacking the resources to navigate the bureaucracy. Well-connected corporations fared better, fueling accusations of unfairness. The uncertainty rattled markets and made long-term planning nearly impossible. Temporary reprieves for some industries only added to the confusion. The exemption process, meant to ease the pain, became another source of frustration. For many, it was a bureaucratic nightmare with no clear end in sight. By autumn 2025, the U.S.-Canada trade relationship was at a crossroads. Some tariffs remained, while others were paused or exempted amid ongoing negotiations. The outcome would shape the American economy for years to come. A deal could restore stability, but demands tied to security and immigration complicated talks. If the stalemate continued, uncertainty would become the new normal, hurting investment and cross-border business. Companies faced tough choices about supply chains and future growth. For American families, the stakes were high. Jobs, prices, and economic security all hung in the balance. Would tariffs bring back manufacturing jobs, or just raise costs and risk layoffs? The answer depended on how, and if, the conflict was resolved. The next chapter in U.S.-Canada trade was still unwritten, but the consequences would be felt by millions.